everybody, Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at St. Vitus for an extremely brutal night because we got Matt of Exhumed here. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Oh, yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So the newest record is Death Revenge, and it is brutal, kick-ass, the Exhumed that we know and love. And it just came out, like a month ago? Or
Yeah, October 13th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, perfect month for a death metal record,
Right, and it was Friday the 13th, or usually I would be like, it was like last month or something, but because it was Friday the 13th, I actually remember the fucking day.
Yeah.
For
man.
once.
Friday the 13th and October. It does
Right.
not get more metal than that.
Yeah, it was, it just was a happy coincidence. We were shooting for like a Halloween-ish release, and just so happened there was a Friday the 13th. The label's like, you want to do this? We're like, well, yeah, obviously, duh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I could only imagine that like a bunch of other bands were competing for that release date.
Yeah. Luckily with our, aesthetic or whatever, Relapse, they're good. They look out for us like that. They came to me with it, and I was like, obviously I'm not looking at the fucking calendar like, oh, what's the days of the week? It's 6 months from now. And they came to me first. It was very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. But how has the recording been and the reception and, even though it's only been 2 months, the record cycle been?
It seems like people seem to like it, it's always hard to gauge, I guess. We have like 6 records at this point, so people have had a lot of time to learn the older songs, but they seem to be shouting during the right parts and making noise at the shows and stuff. Everybody I talk to, it seems to be pretty stoked on the record, Again, I don't know how it's a biased sample. Usually you don't go up to a guy in a band like, hey, I came to your show just to tell you your record sucks. So
you'd be amazed on how many times that happened.
Well, hey, then in that case, we're doing good. Yeah, it seems like people like it, and we're the biggest thing for me is we're really happy with it, So
yeah, of course, you got to be happy with the music before you
right.
bring it to other people. Now, with each record, because Exhumed has a lot of records, do you like to make each record stand out? Like, did you want to make like All Guts No Glory sound separate from this record, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, we definitely try to kind of like, each album kind of starts with a very simple seed, like. With All Guts No Glory, it was like a comeback record, so we knew that it had to be really aggressive to show that we weren't just like a watered-down version of the band. But then that was so aggressive that kind of prompted Necrocracy to be a bit slower and more like focused on mid-tempo stuff and groove. And then for this record, the whole seed was just, I wanted to do something a little bit darker, and here we are.
Yeah, here you are. Now, a lot of people have argued oh, they're technical death metal or they're just straight up death metal. I've lost count on how many subgenres of subgenres there are.
Is it brutal technical death metal or is it technical brutal death metal? I don't,
Or is it brutal technical death metal with a touch of brutal death metal?
Double brutal.
Yeah, it's Exhumed definitely has that classic death metal sound that we all know and love. Were you looking with Exhumed? Were you kind of inspired by Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse and?
Well, we've had I've been playing in the band since I was in high school. I graduated in '93, and we were already doing shows with.
I was born that year.
Yeah, we were doing shows with the bands you just mentioned as the local band, the local opener kind of slot. Our influences haven't really changed that dramatically since then. It's for me, it was all about Napalm Death and Entombed and Bolt Thrower, Carcass, Carnage, Repulsion, Impetigo, Gorephobia. The first Cannibal Corpse record was a big deal for us. And then I think as time went on, we just kind of got more into thrash and old school metal, I guess, and that has kind of shown through. That's kind of when we found our own sound. We weren't just a high school band sticking this riff here and this riff there, and obviously, Death and Obituary were big influences when we were kids as well. Celtic Frost, Creator, that kind of stuff.
Can't go wrong with those.
So that's really kind of been consistent the whole time. It's I like a lot of new bands. I hear bands I think are really good and this and that, but it's as far as where we're coming from, it's always been kind of the same, that late '80s kind of death metal, and the older death metal as well, like Slaughter and Necrophagia and Infernal Majesty and stuff like that. But we try to sort of take those elements and then develop forward from there. We're not just trying to sound like a record that came out in 1987, but we're trying to just develop using only those elements and not trying to bring in like, oh, black metal's big, maybe we'll write a black metal song, or you know, slam is big, let's do a slam song. It's just that's just not us, you know.
Those crossover elements of with death metal, like Behemoth combined black and death metal,
right.
you know, and then Power Trip combines like thrash and death metal. So it's really cool, like how you guys kind of were one of the. I consider you guys to be like one of the first bands to really combine like thrash and death metal in a way.
I think we were one of the first bands to be really obvious about it, and especially in the 90s, you know, it was very uncool to be like into thrash metal, you know. By like 95, 96, we were, you know, heavily influenced by Destruction and Sodom and Creator and Protector and Assassin on all these Canadian bands like Razor and Sacrifice and stuff. And that was sort of like the height of uncoolness, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody was into like the Machine Head Pantera thing, or like black metal was big. And I was like, I still like death metal, but I'm also, you know, I just started going backwards in time, and that's like kind of where we've been going ever since, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, you mentioned like Exhumed kind of took a break, you know, the comeback record and stuff like that. When you came back from your break, you reunited in 2011, I believe.
That's when the record came out.
Yeah. So after your hiatus, and you know it's been a while now,
right?
But when you reformed Exhumed, was it like a fresh start, or did you more or less pick up kind of where you left off?
I think it felt more like a fresh start at the time. I think, you know, the band had been going for so long and many different incarnations and stuff that there was a lot of burnout. I mean, not just with the other guys that had left the band, but with myself, you know. And it was just one of those things where you kind of walk away from it and you kind of put the things that you didn't like to kind of go into perspective, you know. And, you know, and also you get a little bit older and a little bit wiser, and you don't. My whole thing is I try not to just put expectations on anything. I'm just like, you know, hey, I don't know. Some people like certain things, some people don't. All I know is I'm trying to do what I'm into, and I don't really
can't please everybody.
Right, and I just don't care, you know. Like when I was younger, I would take it real personally, like, oh, a record didn't get a good review, or oh, you know, like I thought we were gonna be more successful and this and that. And then when I came back, I was like, you know, everything was really fine. I just was like, it was all just internal shit that I was able to let go of. So it felt really fresh to be able to come back and write and enjoy the process of being in a band and you know, crafting a record. It was really invigorating, you know, to be honest. And just to kind of come back to that style, because I hadn't really been playing, you know, death metal for a few years at that point. I was always playing, but I was playing more like thrash and
you were in a bunch of other projects.
Yeah. So to come back to it felt like, you know, it was like getting your old buddy back, you know?
Definitely. I could totally understand that. So before we go, I want to first thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's going to be brutal at St. Vitus tonight. This place will be a smoldering crater by the end of the night, I feel.
Brutal death metal tonight.
Brutal death metal with a touch of tech core and a bit of core and a partridge in a pear tree.
Of course, just a little bit of everything, you know, with seasoning here.
Yeah. But I know now that Death Revenge is out, it's a brand new record cycle. I know you're going to be on 70,000 Tons of Metal this year.
We are, yes.
And can we be expecting any more touring for 2018 that you're obviously allowed to talk about?
We don't have anything set in stone right now. We're looking around at a few different things. We have the cruise that you mentioned, and then we're looking at doing a smaller like West Coast run around a festival out there that's not confirmed. So that's all I'll say at this point.
Yeah.
We're just kind of putting feelers out, and you know, I'm sure something's going to come through. We've already waiting for this album to come out. We already had to turn down 4 tours. So I mean, things, you know, we're fortunate enough to be in a position to get asked to do tours, which is quite nice.
Yeah. Well, we definitely wanted you back here. I think I could be wrong, but the last time I remember you guys being here was Summer Slaughter 2012.
Oh no, we've definitely been here a few times since then.
Okay.
But it's been a while. It's been I want to say since. Fuck, I don't know, man. It's been a couple years since we've been in New York.
It's been too long.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're stoked to be back, man.
It's great to have you back. So, again, thanks so much for your time.
Fucking
Everybody, Matt of Exhumed, be sure to pick up their latest record, Death Aggression. Or, no, not Death Aggression, Death Revenge. That was my mistake.
Close.
That was I made that. I pronounced.
That's the next album. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, my work is done.
All those subgenres throw me off. Alex from Heavy New York, everybody. We will see you next time. Catch them on the rest of their tour. Pick up their new record, Death Revenge, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.